Time for this.
That's good. Well, thank you for joining us, Shailesh. I want to start with some context setting. You and I spoke about 3 months ago, and we had a quick check-in last Monday. And I said, hey, Shailesh, we spoke about 3 months ago. Is there anything new that's happened in your world of AI? And he said, you know, Kahal, I'm just back fresh from the West Coast. He had spent 3 days in a hotel, locked away. I think you met 200 plus companies, showcasing the art of the possible. So I guess he answered my question. Was there anything new that he'd seen? So I'd like you to, there's a three-pronged question here. Share what you heard. How does an immersion like that inform your strategy? Because you've got noise information coming from so many directions. And how, if at all, does that challenge your technology decisions of yesterday?
Very good question. I think you first let me answer that first thing. 3 months, it's eternity.
Yeah.
In AI world.
Yes, it is.
So I will tell you what changed. Anthropic come up with this MCP protocol. Everything changed. We were not using Anthropic then. We're still not using it, but OpenAI, they adopted it. You adopted it. Suddenly I can talk to any model, any agent, and I can tell you this is the scale. We were trying to solve this problem for years. What we are trying to solve is calling agents through one orchestrator. Every orchestrator, we need to stitch it together. With MCP server, suddenly the world changed. Scale is just like I have to just do 20 MCP server. The same thing, it would have to make me changes 1,000 times. That's the scale. That's what changed. Why so important? Now we are talking about this agentic AI, agentic orchestration. Yes. Because it was always a vision, but never practical vision. We tried. I'm in this journey for 3.5 years. First thing we tried is how to do function call, all of this. Nice to show a demo. That didn't go to production.
Yep.
I see the promise here. And that's exactly what happened. And now come back to your question. Just happened to be last week I was in Silicon Valley, Menlo Park area, 200 plus companies. Everybody's talking about data, but when the data track, they're talking about AI.
Yeah.
Everybody talking about digital currency, talking about AI. Cybersecurity, how AI can solve it. And then there is agentic AI. Agents are everywhere. And by the way, first time I can say they are real. Why it is very important is also, every vendor is saying they are agentic AI vendor. So I heard the word Cobus use, agent washing. That's real. That's real thing. Because everybody said whatever they were doing yesterday, now it become agent today. So that changed. Now coming back to this question, how do I look at these 200 plus companies? Why do I look at it is, I want to understand where the world is coming to, how this technology is changing. Some people are doing really disruptive work. I clearly see our DevOps process is going to change, because I see a lot of agents are built into that space. OpenAI is doing the work. There are multiple, I can name 10 companies, which are really disrupting the way you code. Vibe coding is becoming real. I started doing coding again, so that changed. So those are the companies I see, cybersecurity firms. Really, in Morgan Stanley, we are the very much controlled, governed enterprise company. Now with the cybersecurity, there are a lot of threats are happening in real time. With the AI, with the agents, we are exposing that. We are risking some of the things. That's where this real-time agents, which is probably able to detect the threats, very important. So one of the stats which just came out.
Yeah. You
people may know pen testing. It's called penetration testing. In Morgan Stanley, in my enterprise, we just do 5% of application we do pen test. Why? Because it's manual process. We can't do more.
Yeah.
With the team, that's what we can do. Suddenly, with the AI or agents, that 5% can become 40%, 50%.
Wow.
So that's the scale we are talking about. So something we were not doing it because it was hard to do, is become easier to do. So I'll stop here and see.
Yeah.
But that's what it changed. And
yeah. The third part of the question was a little bit about future-proofing. You made some big bets 1 or 2, 3 years ago with us. Thank you. And now you meet all these companies, the art of the possible. How critical was it choosing a company like a Kore, which was platform, which is a platform, that is agnostic, that lets you actually bring in all of these other solutions?
So also one of the things I was there is to prove out to ourselves that we are making right bets.
Yes.
And I'm happy that I'm still here,
Yeah.
even after 2 weeks of there. Why it's very important is people are disrupting things, but they are doing in pockets. What I don't see is an enterprise-wide solution. There is no one vendor is doing it. We need to work with the multiple vendors. Somebody is doing well at one thing, someone is not. Or we need to probably, my platform is 4 to 5 vendors together is my platform, right? But it's important because we want best of breed in my platform. So that's very important. Also important is when the world is changing, I have 2 choices. Either build myself, buy something, or ask my partner to build it.
Yeah.
So I use all 3.
Yes.
But I see many cases because I start building ourselves and then tell my partners, hey, we can always go with the vendors, but you may have direction also, you may have strategy also. Please include this in strategy because that's important. And that's why your partners are important. And I can tell you, I don't call my vendors vendors, they are my partners. That's the reason for that. Because it's never a thing that I wait for you to do things for me. Obviously, you do something very interesting, which I always take, but also we kind of push you to where we want you to be. And that's always reciprocated. And this I do with all our partners.
Got it.
So.
I want to ask you this question just for a little bit of fun. LLM, SLM, but when you're out there, I'm hearing TLM, CLM.
Yeah.
Let's share a few of those with the audience.
I just talked in we had the tech opco meeting.
Yes.
I just used the same line actually.
Okay.
So I was telling him last week when we had a call, before that I knew LLM and SLM, that's the 2 word I know. Then people are starting, just in week, I was educated on CLM, DLM. So CLM is a contextual learning model or a language model, which is used for RAG. They call it RAG 2.0. Then there is a DLM, it's called diffusion language model. That's a new thing which was, and don't ask me the details, Google it. Or AI at work it, I call it, for my employees. And then the third one is important for everybody. TLM, really it's a task-based language model. So to me it is really the small language model, very small, can run on the, not just small GPUs, but the CPUs really, and does one task well. Why that is important is, I was just telling my CIO that right now we're solving the problem, cost is not that much paid attention to. Soon we'll get the bill, we'll get to see the bill. Because agents, when you're building it, each agent is probably 10 times more than a prompt. The token exchange is like 10 times more. Cost will suddenly go up 10 times. That's where it's very, very important to see what model you use, what you use for, because agent can call 10 different tools. Each tool can call specific model and do it well. That's why that SLM is important. In fact, some of the things we are looking at is the task-based model, which can run on CPUs. Because GPUs are expensive. But CPUs, most of our data center has. If I can implement some model, very simple as that classification, which is a common problem, but it called million times a day. If I can solve that in a CPU, that's what I would do. So those are the things which are coming up. So thanks for bringing it up. That was a nice line which I read, and it's really resonate with me because that's not fake. That's real.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. So let's get some definitional foundation. AI agent, agentic agent. When you speak inside of Morgan Stanley, what does that actually mean inside as an operator?
It took us 3 months to come up with the right definition. A lot of infighting, what agent is. Because as I mentioned, agent wash, that's real. Because every flow becomes agent. But we clearly define, and why it's very important. Because the risk goes up very high. If I call an agent, suddenly all the antennas goes up, and my system cannot go to production. Or there are many people will look at it, or many toll gates I need to cross to put in production. So it's very important to call what it is. Something I call it as a task. something I call it. So agent, I think I saw the previous presentation. I think Cobus, you are giving the presentation, where I will definitely see our definition is same as what Cobus has given, the autonomous agent. And there are levels of autonomy. So autonomous agent can be, okay, this autonomous agent can take decision, but not going to the full autonomy. There is always human in the middle. So we are at that stage.
Got it.
I am not there yet where I can say, okay, the autonomous agent is doing the work on its own without any supervision. We are not there yet. I'm not saying we may not get there, but I don't know that use case, and I'm not sticking my head out for the risk I'm going to get just by saying that. So far, autonomy to me is a human or a user have an assistant. They are using that assistant to get the answers, and there is a continuous loop. That answer may be right, may not be right. They can ask them, hey, go find. So think about you have an assistant working for you. How you will work with the assistant, you can work with autonomous agent. And that's what I see the definite value for it. And that's what we are trying to get to that stage. So that's what autonomy to me. But there are a lot of use cases which don't need that autonomy. Yes. I think very good examples are in my operations area. There are tons of work we can do. People misuse the word agent. These are really tasks. They're RPAs. We can really use LLM, do that RPA task much better, and get the ROI very quicker without adding those risks for it. So again, coming back to this, what does that agent mean? Agent means we have 4 different definitions. Why it's important? Each agent, we say which toll gate you need to. Autonomous agent may need to go through 10 toll gates, like model risk management, maybe governance, maybe legal. A lowest level of risk, maybe you can put in production today. That's why it's important. So you categorize it. Second thing is, and this is the most important part, we are not allowing everybody to say, okay, go build your agent. Very important is we spend time on building the agentic foundation platform. We say, use the framework, use the common evaluation pattern, use the common governance pattern, and that's why there's accelerators. We are thinking about 100+ use cases, which is real. But we are building the patterns so that you use these patterns to build your use cases. Because if you start building those, A, you cannot govern 100+ use cases. B, you are adding such a big risk, which you cannot manage. And third, there is not a standard way to evaluate it. I think the most important, if there is one thing which I am facing, is how to evaluate agents properly.
Yes.
It's still an open question. I don't think I have all the answers. I'm trying to find the answer. I tried to find the answer last week. There are few solutions there, but I haven't seen a perfect solution yet. So 2 things is evaluation and observability.
Yes.
So those is where we are trying to do, so that once you put the agent and suddenly there'll be thousands of agents, they can be managed on the platform well.
Got it. So AI inside of Morgan Stanley, hundreds of use cases, thousands of users. When we spoke recently, you spoke about experimentation. But when you speak about experimentation, you're at a very different place on that maturity curve. You're really thinking about the future when cost needs to be managed. It's not experimentation. How do I take this from 1 to 10 people, 10 to 100? Describe a little bit of a use case inside of your enterprise that has scale, that has impact across thousands of people, and how you think about maybe that use case and what you're managing for very far up the maturity curve.
I think you probably want me to talk about Core.
Yeah.
But,
that would be good.
Yes. No, actually, no joke.
Yeah.
One of the best use cases we had is putting AI at work given to all employees of Morgan Stanley. Why it's important is, AI at work to me is really, if you ChatGPT at home, this is ChatGPT for enterprise. Your foundation, you are connecting to OpenAI, LLM, because OpenAI is a big partner of ours. So you are building the front end for us. You are keeping the short-term memory, long-term memory, history, all of that work is done, and that data does not move Morgan Stanley. Very important. Second very important thing, this is the foundation. Why it's so important for it, when we build this thing, we don't give it as a product. We build it, this is a platform we are building. Now people can build on top of it their own tasks.
Yes.
That's so important for it. Now we are saying the way I call it, we democratize the development of AI work. The way I look at AI at work, which we call AI at Morgan Stanley, it's a common orchestrator. That's the one place everybody will go in. Depending on what you are, if you are an HR person, you can ask HR questions there. You can connect to HR rack solution. If you have to transfer for dollars, you can say, okay, come there, transfer the fund. It will call the task and get it done. You can do the web search or deep research. You go there, do that. It's an orchestrator. Behind that, there are hundreds of applications running.
Yeah.
That's why it's a very powerful foundation, because it's a common interface, like a ChatGPT or Copilot. But this is on-prem. My data is with me. And the context is very important. It can connect to any of my internal system without any issues. Very difficult for a person, something sitting on the cloud, and say, okay, now connect to my PIR system or my HR system with all my salary information out there. Nobody will take that risk. Yeah. Versus this is on-prem solution, which is doing it. So that is very important. It's in hands of everybody. But one of the application or task on that, which was very popular, which I would not have never built it. In fact, I was against to build it. Very simple use case was, when you go to the meeting, you do Zoom meeting, transcribe, summarize, and send the meeting minute out. I said, why are we doing it? We use Zoom.
Yes.
We are a bank. When our financial advisor, wealth manager talks to client, you cannot just keep it on a Zoom. You have to have some guardrail where to store it, how many days to store it, where to archive it, all of that, because we are a bank holding company. That's why we have to build a solution. But little did I know, this becomes one of the most popular application on that platform. People use it. All they do is Zoom, click it. In that AI time, they get alert, your meeting minute is ready.
Yeah. That is awesome.
Technologically, it's a so low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
I was saying, I want to build autonomous agent, but that has real value.
Yeah. And the frequency of uses.
Everybody using it.
Yes.
And I get called for, if I ask anybody, any C-suite of Morgan Stanley, if all I introduce is, I'm the one who is a Debrief developer. Oh, Debrief. So that's my recognition now. We call it Debrief. So.
That's excellent. Any report we read out there in the media talks about change management, the difficulties with change management. Morgan Stanley, I think, is really unique. You have adopted a combination of change management. You've got clarity at the top-down level, but you've complemented that with a very bottoms-up, democratic approach. I'd love for you to share with the audience here the Lego block concept that you've built out.
So I think one of the things we started, again, our journey for AI is a long journey. We started even before ChatGPT. Yep. One thing is definitely, you said, we are top-down approach in the sense of we are approval from the top to say this is the direction we want to run. One of the first things we did is A, build a platform, B, give experimentation to everybody. Run a hackathon. What I want is everybody should be involved. They should have the skin in the game. Yeah. And my first hackathon, which is 3 years back, was 10,000 people attended, which is almost 10% of the Morgan Stanley employee base. That's a big number.
That's huge.
Just attending him. And they gave the flavor. And in fact, one of the good things is the business also participate. Because it's not that, it's really the business has to change the way they are doing it. So that's what the democratization did. So we built it called a Center of Enablement. That's the first thing we did. I think the previously CVS gentleman, speaker was talking about a very similar thing. Yeah. Very similar concept. Most of the enterprise will follow that same journey. And if not, these are the best practices anyway. So you should follow it. That Center of Enablement, what it helped is twofold. One is common patterns was given to everybody. Everybody is not trying to figure out which LM I'm calling, which vendor I'm calling, how much it's going to cost. If I'm doing something, am I doing something wrong? Don't think about it because it's all governed. This platform is given to you. We manage it. So risk is taken from the developer, put it on the central platform. I think this previous speaker was talking about it, that hey, if the prompt, why the platform is important? Because the prompt we are de-risking it because the prompt you build, we can tell you that this prompt is bad. It will not go anywhere.
Yes.
This is not putting company at risk. So that's very, very important. Second thing is, experiment fast, you can show. Because if you don't experiment, you don't have environment, you cannot show the prototype to anyone. And when you do, so hackathon and experimentation, what it did is, we can show the 15, 20 use cases out of those hundreds of things we did, which can bubble up and say, hey, this has good ROI, these are low-hanging fruit, we should do it, and we can do it today. And those get the budgets, those get value, and so that's how the bottom and top comes together. We experiment, somebody sees it on the one platform. So that I think was a very, very important value. Other value I saw that was, and this is with AI, we always think, I'm a developer, I'm a techie. We are very proud to write complex code. Our business, on the other hand, don't even want to use computer. How to make them work together is the thing. So some of the things we did, and this was only because of AI, because we built this common task for people to build, which is simple thing like, okay, open a file, you can ask the question, you can get the answer. Go to the web, search something. Translate into some other language if your client is that. Create a marketing material or something in the LinkedIn format, and then send an email to somebody. The 5 tasks. You do that AI today, AI at work, people can do that. What I never thought is, people were doing on their own this 5 tasks and stitching it together. And somebody showed me that they are doing it. I said, wow, do you really do that? And save and share. I said, okay, what we can do is, and by the way, I looked at your platform, and this is where I didn't give you the requirement, but I in a way stole from you. You guys have something you can stitch this task together, and we call it workflow, or end user workflow. It's such a simple concept. But now, imagine the power. They're building this entire workflow on them. They're saving it for themselves. They're sharing with somebody. Yes. And when they share it, even important is, this person say, oh, I don't want to translate in Spanish, I want to translate in Chinese. Done. I don't want LinkedIn format, do something. Or I don't want to send email, remove that. Now, all these things are coming up, which I have no control, but why it's so important? This is what I told to somebody. I created this 5 to 10 blocks, I call it Lego blocks. All governed, all safe, legal approved it. Now I'm just giving it to create your own sculpture based on that.
That is fantastic.
So that line went very well with the...
So I can walk in as a Morgan Stanley employee, build my own workflow, knowing that the Lego blocks I have got all the governance, all the compliance built in, and I can put them together in any way I want.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as you use those 10 Lego blocks.
I guess that does encourage adoption.
Yes.
So that is. Okay, you are on what I would call a mega innovation curve. Like you're changing, you're transforming business. One of the things I've discovered over time is when you set goals for yourself on innovation, you've actually set a ceiling of opportunity. Share with me something that you think that you didn't anticipate that turned into something more valuable with a use case than you initially thought.
I think that the value I see is, when I looked at it, I started building agent, again, in the experimental mode. We always start, at least my background in engineering is, you start to building code, you have the input and you have the output. That's what we're doing it. We build hundreds of tasks. Where I saw the value, and very recently, with the autonomous agent is, with the language are getting very, very powerful. The language models, they understand so well. It's just that language model, that brain, LLM, we give access to this environment where you have access to Morgan Stanley internal document, you have access to Morgan Stanley internal APIs, like whatever you have access to the external web, you have access to the deep research agent if you want, and other things, which I don't even know what they are. And I'll say now, user, this is your digital twin, because only thing I'm worried about here is what access it should have, what it should do or not do, what is the risk I should manage. That means I don't want it to update account and change it to $0, absolutely not, but you can read it safely, something. So if you do that, what comes out of it is very, very powerful. I'm giving the power in hands of the end user. And that was why, when I saw it first time, I was amazed, because I was building chatbot for last 10 years. Very difficult to say, give a question, get the answer. After that, it just stops if the answer is wrong. You're again asking the question. This is here, with this language model, what we are saying is you ask the question, get the answer, and say, hey, this is wrong. You can steer it to where you want to be. as if you're talking to your assistant in the real time.
Yes.
And that is what's output. And I was amazed because I was asking the questions where I say, go to this web, go to this site, go to the internal document. Because sometimes it doesn't know where to go and fetch it. Sometimes it does. But then I'm in control. I'm guiding it, getting the answer, stitch it together, translate. All of that is happening in a very interactive way. I can tell you to build that 5 years back, I would have spent years.
Yep.
This, we did in days.
Wow.
That's the power of it. And this platform is already there in this way. So that part is, I myself was amazed. There are not many things that amazes me, but this thing when I looked at it, and by the way, I stopped, I just started playing with it. Because every day when I play with it, I get different answers. When I say not a wrong answer, different answer is I'm asking question in different way. Some of the things I never even was not even thinking about asking, when I ask, I get the answer. Like some of the complex deep research thing in the financial world, I was asking it, and it is giving me the answer, which I was amazed. Such a clarity it was giving that answer.
Yeah.
And imagine that tool is giving in hands of people. And even more important is, I'm not telling them how to use it. I'm saying I'm giving the power in a very regulated environment.
Yeah.
Now use it. That I think is a value. I'm still not there to put in hands of everybody there, because people are still warming up to this concept.
Got it.
Because many people ask, is it right or wrong? Is it hallucinatory? Answer is it will hallucinate. But if you control it, humor is always there. You can get a probably better answer than you when you are thinking about what the answer should be.
Absolutely. So you know, the deep respect for skill and talent and context, I think, remains really important in Morgan Stanley.
Very important.
Got it. So again, I'm just going to reiterate to the group here, you know, you're at a very different stage of scale. Many of the people here are thinking about their journey. Just to kick it off, I want to talk about risk management because that excites everybody. At scale, what worries you? Is it cost overruns with LLM usage? Is it cyber? And what have you done to insulate yourself from these?
All up above.
All of the above?
All up above. All
okay,
up above.
check, done.
Yes. Again, the different way, right? And again, everybody has different priority. Cyber is not my priority because we have the cyber, it's their priority.
Got it.
And there's a conflict. I want to do innovation because that's my role. Cyber's role is don't do anything because you are risking me.
Yep.
So this is the conflict, and a healthy conflict. Because otherwise, if you just let people do, I think we can probably add more risk, which we are not even intending to do. So you ask, there is a guardrail governance, very important, because you can probably get the wrong answers. And last thing I want is my company is in news for something wrong, which we see that all the time. So definitely that's why that governance, guardrail, all of this is important. And I think this, again, it's good that we are third one speaking. So yeah. I think the CVS, they already talked about that, right? Exactly, that's why platform is important. Because you cannot govern at the each application level. You have to do this at the platform level. You have to, so one takeaway for is anybody who's building the platform, spend the dollars and time on the gateway. What I mean by that is there is a one gateway from your company to calling LLM model. Why? Because you can control at that level. If you have 20 ways, roads, that's where the challenge is because you don't know what to control. Here, if you have one road from your company going to the model, you can control it. You can change the model. You can add the rate limits. That's the cost equation you're talking about. Right? That's all I'm going to risk. Because if you let somebody do it, they can just overrun the cost. Here, what we did is we put rate limit on each of the application. So worst case is they'll say, oh, I didn't get answer. Fine. Yeah. Now we know that you need more rate or we can add it. Okay. But there is a control. That control is important. So our role is we put those controls in. So that way we can safely ask people to innovate.
Perfect, perfect. I'm getting the Oscar hook here, but I've got one last question, and I'm going to have to read it out. And you and I discussed this the other day, and it's about the future vision. So for anybody else who might be in Morgan Stanley, he's not delivering this tomorrow. It's more his philosophy. So let's go to the future, and many people are speaking to job elimination. You have a fundamentally different philosophy. You shared with me the idea almost artisan-like, where great craftspeople sculpt masterpieces in the right workshop. How do you design that Morgan Stanley, that Morgan Stanley workshop at scale. Feel free to share the digital twin idea, which we touched on, because I really feel you've solved two things that are rarely solved in the same place: customization and scalability.
I haven't solved it. we are walking that journey. I don't know when we'll solve it. But I think the bigger point is, what's the strategy? I think the big you're asking is, what's the impact? Here, I'll be lying if I say what's the impact. But what I can tell you is this is public knowledge. In our 10Q document of Morgan Stanley, if you read it, we have a very good strategy. A, increase the revenue. Our asset under management around 8 trillion, we want to make it 10 trillion. That means we are growing by 20%, if I do my math correctly.
But it's a big 20%.
Big 20%. And now, for that, we are not increasing our cost. That's very important. How we can do that? That's where there comes AI. So AI is twofold thing. One is A, keep the costs down, and we have to show that we can do. B, increase revenue of that 20%. That's because of AI too. So those are the two things is what it, and we are walking that journey.
That's awesome.
Now hope, finger crossed, we'll be successful in that. But that's what all this thing we talked about is really for that journey. We are not just doing it for sake of experimenting or that. We are trying to create that, I think you've put it in a very eloquently, that we are creating that workshop where we can scale this thing, and we are allowing that power or using the tools in the hands of that worksman.
That's awesome.
So you can, hopefully, it will get to the stage where you want it to be.
Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
Absolutely fascinating. Thank you again. Hopefully you all enjoy that.